Hi everyone, welcome again to another video of SAT Math Explained. Today our topic will be ratios, rates, proportional relationships, and units. I know it sounds like a lot, it's just covering more than one topic, but it's not that difficult. And today we're studying the domain problem solving and data analysis, where we finished advanced math 2 days ago. And after we finish, I think there's 7 topics in this. We're moving on to geometry, so everything will be done by the end of July. And so let's get started. So what do you need to know? As you guys see, there's a lot of stuff, like a lot of things to know because of how broad the focus skill is. There's like 5 different topics, or 4. So basically, an important thing is just know how to convert units when given the conversion. Some conversions you need to memorize, like hours, minutes, weeks, days, something like that. It's just like common knowledge. They're not gonna give it to you, and sometimes they might. It's not even gonna be units. Sometimes they might just give you a ratio and tell you we have this and this. Find the last number or something. It's gonna be some. I'm gonna show some examples. It might sound confusing right now, but just know how to convert the units correctly. And apply given ratios, percentages, rates in word problems. So you're going to get word problems, and you need to either they're going to give you the ratios, you might have to find the ratio, percentage, or rates, and then you might have to like solve for a variable, solve for a constant, something like that. You need to know how to set up relationships slash rates from word problems. So, like I just said, basically sometimes they give you a direct relation. They're going to say you have this, like X, you have Y, and if they have like a 5-to-1 relationship, what would this be? Or they're gonna give you let's say you have x, let's say you have like 5/6 is the ratio, then you have like a year later it's like 6 over, and then you have to find the last number. There's gonna be some examples of that. And so, a skill that helps is knowing how to cross multiply. So what is cross multiplication? Let's say you have a first thing I just wanted to mention, if you have like a ratio like this, 5 to 6, that you can write as a fraction like this, they're equal, which can help with solving for x and stuff like that. But let's say you have like 5/6, and it's equal to, let's say, 2/x, and we want to solve for x. A good skill for this would be to cross multiply. So basically, you just literally cross multiply. You multiply this by this, and you set them equal. So 12 equals 6 times 2 is 12. 5 times x is 5x, and then from there you can solve for x very easily, if that makes sense. And so then, yeah, and pause to solve for something, cross multiplication helps. Okay. You need to have a good understanding of word problems or just know dimensional analysis. So not necessarily word problem, but basically just understand, because sometimes they might give you like miles per hours, and then they want you to convert it to miles per day, for example. So there's 2 ways you could just like see as or let's say they want you to go from miles per day to miles per week. Yeah, that's better. Miles per day to miles per week. So you could either just say, okay, I know they give you the rate in days. They want you to change it to weeks. So you could just identify, okay, I know there's 7 days in a week, so I'm just gonna multiply it by 7. Or what you could do is, where's my cursor? Okay. What you could do is, you just recognize I have, miles per day. So to get to miles per week, I'm gonna multiply it by days per week. Days per week. This is dimensional analysis. And then so days cancel out. You're gonna be left with miles per week, and then you have to like multiply the constants or divide the constants. So there's 2 ways. You could just know, okay, I want to go from miles a day to miles per week. I'm just gonna multiply by 7 to get to weeks. Or you could do dimensional analysis, whatever you prefer. Honestly, both of them will work and won't take that much time. Desmos can help, but it's important to understanding what you need to know is more important. So basically, Desmos will help, but it can't help you with recognizing a pattern. It can't help you with interpreting a ratio. It can't help you find a relationship. You have to first find the relationship, and then if you want, you could either use stuff like cross multiplication stuff, or you could use Desmos and find the x-intercept. But Desmos will not help you with interpreting the word problem, which is the most important thing. Unless it's not a word problem, then it could help you, but you still have to understand. There's always steps before Desmos in this focus skill. You can't just plug it in Desmos and get an answer. The last thing is just know to recognize pattern or apply previous skills. I'm going to specifically show an example of this, but basically, you can sometimes just recognize a pattern which can help you. Like let's say you can recognize that there's x times y on both sides of an equation. So like you have two equations. Each one is is like 5x equals 4. This one is like, let's say 5xy equals, this one's 5xy equals 4. And then you have another one that's like you have n times xy equals 24. Then you have to recognize the pattern. Okay, so this side is times 6, so I'm going to multiply this by times 6, and I got 30 equals n. Something like that. Or you could just solve using algebra, cancel out x and y, solve, and then you can solve for n. And I'm going to show an example of that if that's not clear right now. And a common mistake will be is watch for mismatch units. Many questions on the SAT, especially mainly in this focus skill, will basically like give you a bunch of information. Then in the end, it's going to like just change the units. Like it's going to give you distance in feet and like give you like whole world problem in feet, a word problem in feet. Then like the last like 5 words is going to be what is this in inches? Like what is the distance between this and this in inches? Or sometimes you're going to go from minutes to seconds or the other way around. And you just have to watch out for that because you will get the question wrong if you miss it. So yeah, so that is all for what you need to know, I think. And if there's anything extra that I missed, I'll go over it in the examples. But how do you solve these questions? So like you guys saw, the questions do vary, so it's hard to give concrete. But I tried my best, and basically, first thing, either they're gonna give you an equation you have to solve, or you'll need to interpret the equation from the question. An equation, or maybe it's more than one equation. It's just you need to interpret like the relationship and either create equations, or they're just gonna give you an equation without a relationship, like without a scenario, let's say. But yeah, so first thing you need to interpret from the question, or it'll be given. See what the question is asking for. So what does it want you to find? Make sure you know which units it wants it in, and yeah. So then I try to apply the skills to solve it. And then usually, after you interpret it, it's going to be solving an equation in one variable, which is one of the easiest skills. So this focus skill, literally, they don't want the solving to be difficult. It's almost always in one variable. They just want you to be able to interpret the ratios, interpret the relationships, interpret the units. They want you to that's what they're testing really, not algebra. There are other questions for testing that. And then just like again, just make sure you understand the units and solve correctly. You can actually check with Desmos if you would like, and I can show you how to do that. But yeah, so if you guys want, we can just move on to not Desmos, sorry, examples. And as usual, we do 2 easy questions, 2 medium questions, 1 difficult question, and always try to answer the questions on your own before watching my explanation, because watching me solve a question does not help you. It doesn't help you, and just gives you it might even harm you because it gives you a false sense of understanding of the topic. So let's start with the 2 easy questions. This one tells us that a printer produces posters at a constant rate of 42 posters per minute. So the unit is posters per minute here. At what rate in posters per hour does a printer produce the posters? So this is the thing where I said about have a good understanding of word problems or just no dimensional analysis. This is being tested. So basically there's 2 ways to solve this. You could say, okay, it's posters per minute. I want to get posters per hour. I'm just going to multiply by 60 to get from minutes to hours. You're going to do 42 times 60. 42 times 60, and that is, I'm just going to use Desmos. 42 times 60, it's 2,520. 2,520. But let's say that confuses you. Like, let's say it just confuses you. You might think you need to divide for some reason, something like that. So what can you do to make sure that you get it right? You say, okay, I have 42 posters every 1 minute. 1 minute. And that is being multiplied by, I'm going to put the dot. And that is being multiplied by, I want to cancel out minutes and get in posters per day. So I'm going to put minutes on top, so that it cancels out with this bottom part. And then I'm going to divide it by days, so that after I can get posters per days. And I'm sorry if my handwriting is bad. I broke my pen, and I bought new ones that are coming tomorrow, so my handwriting should be better in tomorrow's video. But in general, so right here when you do this, you get minutes cancel out, then you get posters per day. But then we also have to plug in the numbers. So there's 60 minutes every 1 day. So then what you do, so the minutes cancel out, you get 42 times 60. You just solve that, 2,520. Then the unit is posters per day, just like they wanted, if that makes sense. And those are the 2 ways to solve this. They're pretty much the same thing. One just it just depends on which way you prefer, which way helps you understand better, which way helps you avoid mistakes. So let's move on to the second question. And as usual, if you have any questions, please just let me know in the comments. I'll make sure to get to them. And so for a person, this one tells us that for a person, m miles from a flash of lightning. So m is miles from a flash of lightning. Let me highlight that actually. Miles from a flash of lightning. The length of the time interval from the moment the person sees lightning to the moment the person hears the thunder is k seconds. So the time it takes from the lightning to hearing the thunder is equal to k. So the ratio of m to k, so m divided, remember, so if it's m to k, it always helps because we're eventually going to be solving for something because that's how the questions are. It helps to just put it into decimals. So then it says 1 to 5, in a fraction. So it's equal to 1 over 5. So according to this estimate, the person is how many miles from a flash of lightning? So we're going to solve for m if the time interval, so k, is 25 seconds. So what are we going to do to solve this? This is the ratio we're going to keep it. But now this m over k, we're going to plug in the 25 seconds that they gave us so that we can solve for m, which is the miles, which is what we're looking for, miles from a flash of lightning. So if we plug that in, we get m over 25 is equal to 1 over 5. And from there, you could either plug this into decimals and then find the x-intercept, but it's not really necessary unless you need it. But if it's not necessary, just times 25 by multiply both sides by 25 to isolate m. You get 25 divided by 5 is equal to m, and that means m is equal to 5. And that is it. M is equal to 5, and that is answer option D. And so I don't think there's another way to solve this other than using decimals. And again, you had to interpret it first. So if you guys want, let's say I just wanted to use decimals to answer it. So after we get to this part, that's where you can start using decimals after you write everything. Then you just put replace m with x because decimals doesn't like anything other than x and y. Divide by 1/5, and you see the answer is 5. So that is another way. That is another way to solve it. But just recognize that you need to first find the relationship, like make this equation, and then you can solve. You can't solve it right away. And so yeah, so that's it for the easy questions. If you have any questions, let me know. And so let's move on to the medium questions. So this one tells us that the population density of Iceland in people per square kilometer. So the units is people per kilometer squared, or square kilometers, whatever you want to say it, of land area increased from 2.5 in 1990. So the ratio people per kilometer went from 2.5 to 3.3 in the 24-year time period. So during this time period, the land of Iceland did not change. It was 100,250 square kilometers. So by how many people did Iceland's population increase from 1990 to 2014? So basically, we're trying to find the difference in Iceland's population from 1990 to 2014, and it tells us it's going to be increasing. So we want to find the number of people in 1990 and the number of people in 2014. So how can we solve this? So first thing, let's just plug in what we know. So we know that people per kilometer squared in 1919, we're going to do 1919 first. 1919, it was people per kilometer squared, right? So it's people per kilometer squared. And then, so it was 2.5 in 1990. So we just write 2.5. Now we want to find the number of people specifically, which is why the question specifically gave us the land area of it. So then we could just plug in the land area. So you get people, it's still a variable, people, divided by, now we have 100,250. 100,250. And that is equal to 2.5 that we had. From there, you see there's only one variable left, people. And so if this confuses you how I put it, you could just replace it with x. And then just solve for x. X will be equal to x is equal to 250,625. And yeah, so that is the number of people in Iceland in 1919. And then solve for 2014. What do you get? Say you do the exact same procedure. So let's just people, I'm gonna put x again. X over kilometer squared. So that's the ratio is equal to, in 2014 it was 3.3. So 3.3. Then from there, so it's equal to 3.3. Plug in the kilometers that were given. So x over 100,250 is equal to 3.3. multiply both sides by 100,250. So times 100, it cancels out on this side because we're putting it on the top. So 100,250. 150. It cancels. Then 3.3 times 100, 250. Oops. 250. This one I'm just gonna put it into Desmos. 3.3 times 100, 250. I get 330,825. So in 1919, sorry, not 1919. I think it was 1990. Yeah, it was 1990. I don't know why I put 1919. So 1990. In 1990, it was 250,625, 250,625, and then it increased to in 2014 to 330,825. 825. So from there, we can just find the difference in Desmos. So just plug it into Desmos, put the numbers in. So 330,825 minus 250,625. The answer you get is 80,220 after subtracting them. And basically, if you got a negative number, you would know that you made a mistake because it tells us that it's increasing, so it has to be a positive number, the change. And so then, okay, so 80,200 is our final answer. That was the change, the increase in the population, and that is answer option D. And so that is it for this question. Let us move on to the second medium question. And let me just make some space. So, okay, so for this one, you could either, it tells us that x over y equals 4, 24x over ny equals 4. What is the value of n? So we're solving for n. So basically, there's two ways to solve this. First thing, you could either, the first way, you could recognize, okay, both of these are set equal to 4. So I can just set this one, I can just set this, and this one equal to each other. And I can then solve for it. So let's try that. So you get x over y. So you get x over y is equal to 24x over ny. And we want to solve for n. And then you can recognize that, okay, there's xy over here, so let me just take it out. So 24 over n times x over y equals x over y. I can multiply both sides by y over x. Or if you guys just divide by x over y, it's the same thing. Multiply by y over x, multiply by y over x. The y cancels, the x cancels, the x cancels, the y cancels. And remember, an important thing, basically, if they cancel, y over y is equal to 1, x over x is equal to 1. So it doesn't cancel to 0, it cancels to 1. That's important to note. And then it equals to 24 over n. From here, how can we solve this? Just multiply both sides by n. That's the easiest way. And then n times 1 is n. N is equal to 24 because n cancels on this side. N is equal to 24. So then the other way to solve this would be to see, okay, so I see that xy is equal to 4, and I see that there is an xy over here on this side. So I'm just going to plug it in. So what do you get? Let's just do that above here. What do you get? You get, basically, so we're just done with this problem. We're just going to plug in x over y equals 4. So you get 24 over n times 4 is equal to 4. From there, what we do, there's 4 on both sides, so we can just divide both sides by 4, divide by 4. Because it's multiplying, just goes away, goes away, goes away, goes away. You're left with 24 over n is equal to 1. And from there, the same thing we did here. We just multiply both sides by n, so times n, times n. You're left with n is equivalent to 24. And that is the answer, 24. Now let's move on to, oh, that's it. So let's move on to the final hard question. So, okay, it's down here. So, this one it's similar to the last one. It's just a little bit more difficult, but it's the same thing generally. So this one tells us 4a over b equals 6.7 and a over b n equals 26.8. What is the value of n? So for this one, the first way isn't going to work because you see that 6.7, 26.8, and the first way we solved it over here was recognizing that, okay, both of them are equal to 4, so I'm just going to set them equal. That's not going to work this time. So what am I going to do? I am going to, let me solve for a over b. So I'm going to try the second strategy we did over there. So that's the thing. So in the SAT, if you do enough practice problems, you're just going to recognize patterns that are going to work almost every single time. So like if you do enough practice problem like this, when you get to this problem, you're going to see, okay, I have a over b on this side, a over b on this side. I'm going to try to solve for a over b on this side so that I can plug it in this equation, and then just solve for n. So right here we have 4a over b, so that can be written as 4 times a over b is equal to 6.7. So to then solve for a over b, I'm just going to divide both sides by 4, divide by 4. I get that a over b is equivalent to 6.7 divided by 4. I'm just going to put this in decimals real quick, and the answer is 1.675. And that is not the answer, that is what a over b is equal to. From there, I can plug it into 26.8, and then to make it clearer, I can just factor out a over b times 1 over n is equal to 26.8. 26.8. And then I'm just going to plug in 1.675 for a over b. So 1.675 is equal to times 1 over n. So times 1 over n is equal to 26.8. From there, I can just divide both sides by 1.675. I'm trying to get the term with the n to be alone, isolated. 1.675. Put that into decimals. 26.8 divided by 1.675 gives me 16. 16 equals 1 over n. And then from there, I can either flip, if it makes sense for you guys, you can just flip both sides. So I'm just going to flip this, flip this. This is 16 over 1. Flip it. I get n equals 1 over 16. Or if that's confusing for you guys, you could just multiply both sides by n. So then you get 1 equals 16n. And then divide by 16. Divide by 16. Divided by 16. You are left with 1 over 16 equals n, which is 0.0625. And I did this one on that. 1 over 16 divided by 16 is 0.0625. Yeah. Or 1 over 16. One of these, both, it's a type-in question. You could put 1 divided by, so it's typing. So 1 divided by 16. Or you could put 0. Or actually, you could put 0.0625. And you need to recognize they only allow 5 digits. So you can't put 0.0625 is the best way. Or just put 1 over 16 if you want. And so yeah, that is it for the hard question. For this one, using in decimals, you could same thing with you could do it after you solve for a over b. So basically, after I solve for a over b, let me just show you guys. So after I solve for a over b, basically I can just do 4a over b. No, I can just put, I don't need the first. The first equation was just to let us solve for a over b, so I don't need it. I'm just gonna put a over b times n. I'm gonna put x instead of n, because that's how it likes it. Equals 26.8. And I'm gonna put, they want to put sliders, I'm just gonna tell them a over b is equal to, what did we get? 1.675. Okay, then, sorry. So I'm gonna put that here, and then over, okay, it's not liking it. So I guess you could just solve, so it's not gonna let you put a over b. I don't know why I thought they would let me. But then just put, so 1.675 times 1 over n, or you could do divided by n. Either way works. Sorry, x times n. So 1 over x, and that is equal to 26.8. And then it gives you the answer of, okay, so it's gonna be one of those weird times where, like I said, I don't know if I think I mentioned in a previous video. Sometimes when it's like a decimal, it just won't highlight the thing for you. So what do you do here? Because you want to use decimals. So you remove the equals 26.8, and then you put y equals 26.8, and then you search for the intersection. So it's gonna be up here because 26.8. So right here, 26.8, you see right, so you see when I click from afar, clicked on the y-intercept, we want this one. So when it intersects the red line, which is this thing, and we set it equal to 26.8, what do we get? 0.0625, which was the answer that we got. So that is how you would solve it for decimals. But just recognize, for this focus skill, decimals will not help you if you can't recognize patterns or a relationship first. Like none of these you could just plug into decimals like the ones in algebra, maybe even advanced math. You have to first think, recognize the relationship, or recognize the ratio, then you can use decimals. Yeah, so that is it for our video today for ratios, rates, proportional relationships, and units. Yeah, so we're going to move on. We're gonna keep going on problem solving, then analysis until we finish, then move on to geometry. And so thank you for watching. If you guys can, it would be great if you guys could subscribe, like, click the bell, because I have been uploading daily, so you guys can know when I upload, and share it so that other people can benefit from this channel. And that is it. Thank you for watching. Bye.